Good morning and welcome. Patriot News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. Happy Hump Day to everybody out there. Yeah, summer is here. It is here. It was good while it lasted. But, yep, crack the windows now when you park your car. Crack the windows, otherwise you're going to get in and, well, right, you're going to fry. If you don't, we'll see the next. When will be the next day it gets below 100 degrees? I wonder. It's going to probably be a while. But, hey, that's what it is when you live in a desert, right? 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Of course, what do? Wealth insurance, as we like to call it, gold and silver. The physical delivery of it. You know, what's funny is, by the way, allamericangold.com, the website, it's back. I don't know what happened. Something weird. Somebody did an update and somebody else didn't like it, but it's back up. So you can get back out there, check out all the latest articles and videos that we put up there each and every day. Got some good news here. A deal is done, according to Donald Trump, when it comes to the Chinese. He took to Truth Social not too long ago. Our deal with China is done, subject to final approval with President Xi and me. He said full magnets. So, by the way, for magnets, that's one of the things that we get from China that I'll be honest, I remember why at one point, now I don't, but it's something to do with whether it's green energy, defense, electricity, one of the important things, computer crap, right? Full magnets in any necessary rare earths will be supplied up front by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to. Now, that is going to be, I want to say, certain types of chips and things like that we've restricted. I guess we're unrestricted. Not all of them, but some of them, certain ones. On top of that, including Chinese students using our colleges and universities, which has always been good with me. So Donald Trump, now remember, I don't know if you've heard, they were stopped processing a lot of student visas and whatnot for Chinese students. Apparently, Donald Trump never really had a problem with that. We are going to get a total of 55% tariffs. China is getting 10%. Relationship is excellent. Thank you for your attention to this matter. So, I don't know. I'm not sure. I guess that's it. Maybe. They're saying that total of 55% and China gets 10%. Now, here's this 55. A 10% baseline duty, 20% charge tied to fentanyl trafficking. So maybe there's hope that that could go away, and roughly 25% from pre-existing levies from Trump's first term, as well as most favored nation rates, according to the White House. In a follow-up post, the president said him and Xi are going to work closely together to open up China to American trade. This will be a great win for both countries. Why do I get a feeling that when this is all said and done, Jason, China's going to buy some Boeing airplanes? That's kind of what I feel like this is going to come down to. By the way, I really do believe Boeing is going to be a big winner in trade deals, because I think that's what a lot of nations are going to, hey, we're going to place these orders because they know that they won't be delivered for 10 years. And they can always adjust them later, right? But I think Boeing, if you're looking at maybe a stock that isn't one of the Mag 7s, I would, and again, hey, listen, I'm not a financial advisor. I have no idea. But I'm just saying it just seems like Boeing's going to be a winner.
I think Boeing's going to be the big winner as well. Why do I just get the feeling that whatever this deal was, China's going to end up building airplanes here in the next 10 or 20 years? Why do I get the feeling that's what's going to happen? Why do I get the feeling Boeing's going to be built in China? And some sort of deal was struck so that those in the corporate world will benefit from Boeing by building their planes. Because, China's been trying to build planes. We know this, right?
Oh, yeah. They've actually started selling some of their planes abroad. It's definitely in its infancy, but yes, that's is definitely coming.
Why do I get the feeling the Boeing people are going to be hired on to the Chinese airplane company, and somehow that's the deal that was made? Why do I get the feeling that's what?
Well, maybe China's smarter than that. Hey, we don't want the Boeing people that forgot how to build planes. We want to hire all the ones that you wanted to get rid of because they made too much money. But hey, some kind of trade deal was done. How did it affect the markets? We'll talk about that next. We got the inflation data as well. Oh, yeah. (800-951-0592) Patriot Radio News Hour. Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. A quick look in at the markets. The Dow's up 150, so kind of muted, I guess. Figuring with the China news. The S&P's up 14. The Nasdaq's up 50. The 10-year note 445. It was above 4.5 today. We had a bad auction yesterday. It was a 3-year auction, so really not that long. We got the 10-year today, and then the 30-year tomorrow. So we'll see how long that lasts. This is in reaction to the inflation data, which we'll get to in a moment. Crude oil up again here, up $1.32, as it appears that the warmongers, they just can't help it. They're trying to make the case to bombing Iran. By the way, it looks like we have hit peak drilling, and the oil drillers out there, and as well as big oil, actually expecting now U.S. oil production to start declining. And I'll just say this. Depends on the price, right? Depends on the price. Listen, if oil goes back to $80, they'll pump. At $60-some, they're not pumping. That's just what it is. So get used to that. Gold up $18 right now, $33.42. Silver, the breakout is here. It's down, but very little right now. It's down 20 cents, $36.25. Buy all you can. Just telling you. Speaking of breakout, here comes platinum, up another $45, $1,270. And I'm just going to tell everybody out there, because I'm starting to hear this. Jason, I think you probably are too. Oh, it's just too expensive. Talking about gold. Gold's too expensive. Silver's too expensive. It's not. It's not for a lot of people, and I know you don't want to hear this, but this is going to be the truth. You will run out of the ability to buy it when you really need it. Buy it while you can, because there's going to be a lot of people when this thing is over. And listen, and I'm talking soon. Before 2030, there's going to be a lot more people with a lot less wealth in America. And believe me when I tell you, this is not expensive gold. This is not expensive, not even close. I'll tell you when it is. I will, I promise. Wall Street's expensive. That's a fact. It's a fact. You know what else is getting expensive? Our debt. It's another fact. very expensive. But having said that, let's get to data today. Okay. By the way, sorry, I got to stop. Breaking news. His e-commerce secretary Lutnick just coming out here. U.S. tariffs on China will not change again. Okay, so it looks like we are locked here. 55% is going to be the number. That's still a heck of a lot, but okay, that's what they're saying. No more tacos, right? We're done here. They aren't going to change again. So in the last 2 weeks, so today we got CPI today, the inflation. Everybody's waiting for inflation to pick up as these tariffs start setting in. And I was thinking by now we should start seeing something. ISM manufacturing prices expanded to the highest levels since June of 2022. ISM service, okay, we're the service economy. Prices were up, by the way, 69.8 on manufacturing. Remember, 50's zero. 65.1 on the service side. That's the highest since January 2023. S&P Global Manufacturing Terms said that prices rose by the greatest degree since early 2023. Richmond Fed, prices rose. New York Manufacturing, prices received. Philly Fed, prices received. Kansas City Manufacturing, prices received. What are they saying? All of them more expensive. Dallas, same thing. Chicago, same thing. What did we get in CPI today? None of those things. Headline CPI up only 0.1% month over month. They were expecting 0.2. By the way, the year-over-year number actually rose to 2.4%. And again, as we told you now, the easy numbers are gone. Don't be surprised to see these year-over-year numbers go up a little bit. Now, you got to remember, April was 2.3, now at 2.4. But again, only 0.1%. By the way, the overall inside of this, shelter up 0.3, and that just doesn't seem to go away, right?
Joe, I'm looking at the year-over-year numbers. That 2.3, that was April last month. Now we got the May number, which is 2.4. That 2.3 was the lowest since February of 2021. That was the last time it was lower. We had a 1.7. So we talked about higher inflation here to stay. Well, now we've got a track record of over 4 years of not being below the 2%. They have not gotten a number that's in the ones, which was a typical thing in years past, where they had the 2% target, had the sideways markets of the Obama years, right? And then here came COVID and blew everything up and spent trillions of dollars. I don't see inflation ever going back down to the ones right now. I don't even know if they can do it, Joe. I think we're here. Are they going to have to recalculate it down 50% again? Is that where we're headed? Are we headed for a new calculation? Is that what we're headed for after some emergency happens? Inflation's here to stay. People want things to get cheaper, and I think we have another wave of bad inflation coming before we get back to where we're at now. I think that's the best we can hope for. That's
my guess. I agree with that. I think we're going to get back to that, they'll say 3%, which means 6%, and then probably we'll edge down from there. Maybe this will be, they love that new normal crap. Maybe this is going to be new normal, right?
Right.
But shelter was up 0.3. Food up 0.3. By the way, for both the grocery store and for food away from home, both were up 0.3. Where did all the the wind come from? Energy, gasoline, down 1% in May. That was kind of the saving grace to this. Now that oil's, back in the high 60s again, that's probably going to end. Don't be surprised next month to get a 0.2 or a 0.3 at a number above 2.5%, probably 2.6, something to that effect. Other things that increased month over month: medical care, motor vehicle insurance, household furnishings and operations, personal care, and education. So what went down besides gas? Airfares. They said used cars and trucks, which is interesting because that's not what I saw. But okay, used cars and trucks and new vehicles. Okay. Apparel. They said apparel went down. So if you're clothes shopping, I don't know, maybe that went down. And then the core CPI, that was also only up 0.1. By the way, they were expecting 0.3, flat year over year at 2.8%. So, Jason, that was the CPI number today, and I think a lot of people thought that was great because odds of a rate cut shot back up again, right? They are extremely fixated as to the Fed needing to cut rates. And again, they will, but not because they want to. It'll be because they have to, which is two different things entirely, Jason. But at least this number, even though everybody, including me, is saying, hey, listen, there's going to be more inflation, at least in May, they said it didn't happen. And obviously gasoline was very helpful in that. But still, I don't know. I guess car prices went down. That one's leaving me scratching my head a little bit. But outside of that, a pretty good report.
Car prices can go down if people stop buying cars, for sure.
Which they did.
So, I mean, you say that they will cut rates when they have to. Well, they don't really have to cut rates. They have to cut rates to save their big, rich corporatist friends that do all the buying of our politicians and sort of run the markets. That they have to save those guys. That's the only reason they'll lower the rates is if they don't want to. They have to spread the pain around. If these markets are going to be at a bad spot for a while, they'll spread it around a little bit. And if the markets are going to crash really, really horribly, Joe, then that's why you say that they have to cut them at some point if the whole thing's going to crater. Well, for the average guy, listen to the show. If they just let the markets just completely crater, it would be bad for everybody. But it would actually bring a little more responsibility back to the markets. Let the values of these things actually reflect. I mean, just what we just said just there. I'm not sure why the car prices went down. I'm not sure. It's like, well, because people stopped buying them. That's the market. Now, if you lower the rates and have easy money, the car companies are going to overinflate and bloat the value of their companies even further, while they don't feel the pain of a recession, which is a natural part of a monetary cycle for a country. We are so overdue for a massive market crash. Tesla. I always go back to the Tesla. Tesla has the value of the top 10 car companies across the entire world. Yet they sell less cars than Toyota in the course of a year. That's not healthy. That's just enriching people on the backs of the average taxpayer. And you're right, Joe. They will lower the rates to save the markets. And then a whole bunch of the medium to smaller companies are going to be wiped out completely. And then the standard of living will drop, and it'll become more expensive for the average guy to get gold. Because Joe said earlier, this might be one of the last times you get to buy gold. Well, Joe's saying that because the lower standard of living is going to rule more people out of buying gold and silver. That's it. It used to be, way before we were around, you can go to the bank and put your $20 in there and grab a $20 gold piece. And people didn't have mortgages on their houses back then. Before 1913, the vast majority of homeowners or people that owned homes in America owned them clear, no mortgage. People didn't do mortgages in 1913 and before. They saved up, they bought a house. And then if they had the ability to get a loan from a bank, they would do a mortgage. It existed. But now, Joe, except for people that are deep into their senior years or have done really well, which is a minority, everybody has a mortgage. Everybody's paying that huge amount of interest every month. Well, if you took the interest on all your loans off of your monthly bills, sure makes you easier to pay your bills, doesn't it, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those things, like I said, buying it now will allow you to have that same standard of living in the future. You know, buying a $20 gold piece for $35 and a quarter, and then 5 years from now, hey, I'm going to cash one in for 10 grand. 800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason here on this Wednesday. If you're just joining us, it looks like we've got a trade deal of sorts with China on rare earths and magnets, along with we'll provide China some of the techie stuff. The Chinese students will be allowed to go to Harvard again. And according to Lutnick now, China's tariffs won't change again, and they will be in at 55%. So at least some certainty there. The inflation rate came in less than expected at 0.1%. The year-over-year number, however, did pick up a tenth. At 2.4. Something else that's kind of interesting, and I know a lot of people have talked about Fort Knox. And remember, Donald Trump and Elon Musk, the early onset of Doge, they talked, yes, we're going to Fort Knox once and for all. We're going to audit this and make sure. Now, then we didn't hear anything. You know, it got really quiet. Well, I and lots of speculation as to why. I will say this. Here's where I sit on this. Do I believe that there is gold at Fort Knox? Yes. I think the real question is it been leased out, or do we own it? That part, I don't know. And again, well, I guess I don't know that it's there either, but I want to believe that it is. Thomas Massey, who has drawn the ire of President Trump along with Rand Paul, you know, anybody that didn't want to vote for the big, beautiful bill. He came out this morning, maybe it was yesterday, after Donald Trump had said we were going into Fort Knox to make sure all the gold is there. That was in February. You know that we're going to go into Fort Knox. Did you know about that? Several months later, obviously nothing has happened. Massey, I want to say it was yesterday, submitted a bill titled the Gold Reserve Transparency Act of 2025, mandating the Comptroller General not only to conduct, but publish a full audit of the nation's gold reserves. There were several other co-sponsors to this bill. The audit would include deep storage locations such as Fort Knox. They got to remember now, listen, not all the gold's at Fort Knox. There's some gold at West Point. There's some gold in Denver. There may be some in San Francisco as well. But Americans deserve transparency and accountability from the institutions that underpin our currency. Boy, that'd be nice. And in February, the president said we are going to go to Fort Knox. Well, I think it's high time that we do. It's been decades since actual inventories and assays have been conducted. on U.S. gold reserves, the Department of Treasury has lost records as well as failed to account for many occasions when vault compartments were inexplicitly opened and resealed without new audits. Now, I did not know this. So this is maybe some new information that, according to the sponsors of this bill, several of these vaults have been opened and resealed, and nobody knows why. And nor was there any audits done. Now, does that mean anything? I don't know. Right, Jason? We don't know. The biggest thing about, not only do they want to audit the gold and assay the gold, they also want to make sure that we technically own the gold. So what does that mean? Well, there are plenty of times we've seen it. As a matter of fact, we saw it before the tariffs in London, when physical demand actually outstrips the amount of gold that's available for delivery. What they have done is they have taken central banks' gold and essentially let the markets borrow it, a.k.a. lease it. Now, I don't know how much gold is leased right now. They don't tell us. I don't know if any of it's our gold, not our gold. But, Jason, this is something where it seems like this would be easy to do, simple to do, and I think the vast majority of Americans would support doing this.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is going off the premise that it's the citizens that owns the gold. It's the country, but that's just not the case. It's the Federal Reserve's gold. We bankrupted officially in 1933. This gold, the reason that it doesn't get audited is because a private company owns it. We don't own this. The United States doesn't own that gold. That's the problem. That they tell you one part of the story, but they don't tell you exactly what happened in 1933. They bankrupted America, and all the assets of this country, that being the citizens themselves, were put into this bankruptcy to the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank, and the Federal Reserve System. And so it's fun. Every time we see this, we're going to audit the gold. Here's my biggest worry, Joe, is whatever kind of economic cataclysm is going to happen here within months or years, they decide to rebalance everything in gold. And that's not the best thing. Owning gold is good, and it's great for the individual, but balancing an entire economy off of gold is how you enslave nations. England did the tally stick. This little tiny, people got to remember, this little tiny island nation of England became the most powerful nation on the planet. And their free money system that they were using was the tally stick. They used it for centuries. It actually lasted for 700 years. It was the way of doing honest money, because money can be anything. When the Rothschilds took over, they decommissioned the tally sticks. They replaced it with a gold-only money system in which they controlled all of it. So, Joe, gold getting super expensive, it's going to be good if you're holding on to it. As Joe said earlier, it's going to get harder to get your hands on it. It might be the asset to be holding above all else if where we're headed is to a gold-only money system or a gold-backed money system. Watch out, because you may not ever get another ounce in your hands, like Joe said earlier in the show.
800-951-0592, Patriot Radio News Hour, Joe and Jason on this Wednesday. Remember, tomorrow we're going to get the jobs number. The jobless claims number, Obviously, we got the jobs number last week. The jobless claims number, Jamie Dimon out again today, saying the bank is seeing more signs of the economy slowing, more signs of the consumer showing stress and expects a speeding up of the soft landing. In other words, the soft landing is going to be getting harder as the weeks and months roll on, according to the guy that runs the nation's biggest bank, Jamie Dimon, this morning. $20 gold pieces, guys. This is just it's great when you think about, got spot at 33.40, 35.25 on $20 gold pieces. Buy 20 or more, $34.95. Cases of U.S. Silver Eagles, I put them on sale today. $21,250. You want a case of U.S. Silver Eagles, rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles, I put those on sale. $855 at 800-951-0592. Continue to be diversified. Continue to diversify while you can afford to do it. It is not too expensive. Matter of fact, it's the opposite of too expensive. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is 5 years from now, this is what I truly will believe, the vast majority of Americans, it will be unobtainable. I mean, yesterday I talked about the likelihood that rolls of Silver Eagles will be over $2,000. It's a roll of silver. Gold. Forget about, no offense to 4,000. It's going to be great in 5,000. Are we going to see $20 gold pieces going for 10, 15, 20,000? Yeah. I'll be honest with you, I can see silver being $4,000 an ounce. Or an ounce. A roll of silver used to be $4,000. Very easily. I don't think people really understand what even though we say it all the time, guys, they're talking about printing stupid amounts of money. Why do you think everyone's all freaked out? Why do you think Donald Trump's got to push so hard? Why do you think we've gone almost an entire year now with no budget at all? None. And nobody can figure out what the hell to do. Because there's two really bad choices. Rein in spending and crash the world economy, or print money and create the biggest disparity of wealth the world has ever seen. And that's what's going to happen. That's what they picked.
It's like
I didn't pick it. You didn't pick it. They picked it.
It's a broken record. What's funny is I think a lot of kids don't even know what that means anymore. Most kids probably haven't ever heard of record skipping. But it sure seems like we're skipping the record again, aren't we, Joe? Just print, and distribute the money out there. Give it to your friends and make the bottom strata spin their wheels even faster to get less. It's awful. It's awful. I mean, think about just in our lifetimes, Joe, because we always talk about what the family unit was when Americans really benefited at post World War II, and what the family life was like then. But since the 80s, since we grew up, right, Joe, the 80s on, look at how much the standard of living has dropped just since the 80s. I mean, in the 80s, there was still the stay-at-home mom. It still existed in the 80s, right? I hear stay-at-home moms, and I think, what kind of sacrifice does that family have to make that happen? Because it's beginning to be rare, Joe, to raise your own kids, right?
Yeah. And again, only the lucky ones, right? The ones that make really big money can afford it. Everybody else can't. And that's just these simple realities. Listen, when I was born, the debt was less than $400 billion. It's now essentially let's call it what it is, $40 trillion. I'm going to be 55 in August. And I bring that up because, they pretend like we barely have started running trillion-dollar budget deficits. Right? And they talk about this big, it's going to increase the debt. Some say $2.4 trillion. I'm like, what the hell are they talking about? Why is the media saying it like that? That's going to increase the debt on top of the already over $2.4 trillion we're running annually, right? I mean, it's all make-believe. They don't want you to know. How can I be 55 this year, and yet the debt at the end of this year is going to be sitting right around $40 trillion? That means in 55 years, we've already been almost spending $1 trillion a year. I mean, what is the number really going to be? 3 trillion, 4 trillion, 5 trillion a year? You really think that's going to go well? You're kidding yourself. Hey, final segment coming up. 800-951-0592. Joe and Jason wrapping up this Wednesday. $20 gold pieces, 35 1/4, 20 or more, $34.95. Cases of U.S. Silver Eagles, 21,250. Rolls of U.S. Silver Eagles, 855 at 800-951-0592. If you think this is too expensive, then you probably need to trade some of your gold and silver in and get some Texit and hope we're right. So that way you can afford to buy a whole lot more. Because I'm promising you, you're going to need it. When you sit there and you think about getting closer to retirement, obviously if you've done very well, congratulations. The rest of you, boy, I hope you've got more revenue streams because you are going to need every single one of them. If you haven't gotten onto the Texit bus, maybe this is what you should do. Because, like I said, I don't know where it's going to go, but if they're right and it does what it says, you're actually going to be able to afford to buy gold, to buy silver. You're going to actually be able to afford to retire, use it as income. They got people doing it already. It's crazy. You want to get in? 800-951-0592. But Jason, I know the inflation report came in, pretty decent. They're pretty happy about it. But everybody's kidding themselves because the plan is to print more. You know what? The only way we could print even more, I guess if we start World War III, then we could really print even more money. But it's incredible, the plan, which is somehow we can print even more money and grow our way out of it. If we can't grow our way out of it now with a $2.5 trillion a year deficit, how can we grow our way out of it with $3 and $4 trillion? It's a terrible plan. But I will say this: A, it's a plan. B, there's not a good plan to be had. So, Jason, I think people need to accept this is what's going to come.
If you don't worry about your money, somebody else will, right? If you don't worry about your money, somebody else will. That's how it works. You got to get a little bit of education. You're not going to learn it in high school. They don't teach much of it in college. You got to learn how to control your finances and make the best decisions with your money. You got to understand how to do the short term and do the long term, right, Joe? And gold is your savings. Gold is the rock in which you will be able to tread the waters when they get rocky, right, Joe? If things get tough, gold performs really well. And there's been just seems like every few years, right, Joe? Some tough thing happens, some crazy thing happens. People get scared, gold goes up, and I see that fastly happening again. Shocked that there wasn't a huge emergency over the last year, Joe. Looking at gold the last 18 months, right? Look at what gold has been doing without the emergency. What happens when the emergency comes?
Right? Yeah, we know what happens. Then the premiums get ridiculous, right? You can't get it, right? That's what happens. God bless everybody.